Oh, you don't want it. It's okay. It's good to learn from losses. What's going on? Now, I've been talking about streams lately about hazelnut black coffee, and I just want to say, Hy-Vee's been killing it. Not just because of a current economic inflation, but it's just really good. And speaking of really good, I hope you all had a wonderful holiday in the North American region, whether it was Canadian Thanksgiving a few weeks back, or North American United States Thanksgiving. Regardless, it's cool that both countries have those, and I was able to, kind of celebrate with friends and family, and have some viewers from Canada that were chiming in during streams and talking about it to me, and I think that's a cool thing. I think it's really cool that with the internet, we're able to talk to other people, from other countries and share our experiences. One shared experience last week is I talked about Mega Man music, and I talked about, how great it is, in general. The funny part is during the editing phase of this video, when I add music, and, reference pictures and stuff, the Mega Man music files were playing, and some of them were, this is my audio engineering side, but some of them were OGG files, not like MP3 or WAV, and they actually worked in the editor, to the point that they worked in the editor and in the playback, and then when I did the final bounce, put it on YouTube, they didn't play back. A few of them didn't. So, I've already been wanting to talk about Mega Man music for a while, and I have now compiled all the Mega Man songs from last week, put them together on Ableton, and I just strung them together as one big song that's playing. And I've been wanting to talk about how important Mega Man is, not just for video games, but I think media in general. He definitely is on the Mount Rushmore for video game characters, right alongside Mario, Pac-Man, and Sonic. And there's a reason why so many people praised his appearance in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS years ago during his trailer. And, what's interesting is I was born in 95, so I completely was out of the range of when NES Mega Man games were coming out. Now, ironically, my first console was the NES because of my mom and dad got that, and my first video game I ever played was Star Tropics. And what I knew about Mega Man, I respected him, but it really wasn't until high school where I really got into the series. I watched the NT Warrior cartoon, but yeah, I got into the series in early high school, and it just blew me away. I got super into it. I beat 1 through 10, during high school, and then Mega Man and Bass with Bass. I still actually want to beat all the Game Boy games, but one of the big things about Mega Man is, so Super Mario Brothers, one of the big things it did back then was it had really catchy background music. And really, before Super Mario Brothers, you would just hear music as usually like title screen jingles or just quick jingles in a game. Atari 2600, it was kind of just mind-blowing to have any type of music, and really, games weren't going to have background music on the Atari 2600. That was like kind of the standard. Again, music was kind of a rarity back then. So Super Mario Brothers really pushed that new agenda of not just background music, but really catchy background music. Dun 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 dun. That's there's a reason that winter percussion lines still play that to this day. And so what Mega Man did is, I think Super Mario Brothers blazed the trail for video game music, and then I think Mega Man set the bar on that trail. It's kind of like, Super Mario Brothers was the demolition. They made the groundworks for the trail. Like, oh, you can have catchy background music during video games. And then Mega Man they set the bar by just going all out on the trail. Great trees, and planted all these flowers, and now animals are there, and the trail is thriving because of Mega Man working upon that. And really, there's just no bad Mega Man song. In terms of like the official games, they keep they keep consistently producing great music. And I think what works with that is, last week I talked about working with limitations and how limitations can push for creativity. And so with Mega Man, on the NES, you only have 4 instruments. And so usually those 4 instruments are melody, counter melody, bass, and percussion. Sometimes counter melody is harmony. But when you think about really good music, a lot of it can go down to kind of a core 4 instrument set. You look at rock bands: guitar, bass, vocals, drums. And of course there's different variations of that, but Mega Man kind of just not only pushed the NES to its limits with all 6 of its games, it was just setting all these new agendas. And but the fact that you could choose your own stage was already mind-blowing in and of itself. Your character got their weapon when you defeated them. But in terms of music and sound design, it just, like I said, it set the bar for what trail that Super Mario Bros. Blazed ahead with. And it basically now, any video game song, like Mega Man is that bar to compare to. Like I've talked about with Resonance by Home being the now future synthwave music bar that they're going to have to compare to. And obviously, as an artist, it's important to push yourself. But I think as a control group, Mega Man music is just an amazing constant to regard for. And that's the thing, is you really dial into like what you're listening to right now, and it's a blend of high energy, but also it's pretty diverse in where it goes in its genres. So like, quick examples is Elecman's theme is pretty upbeat as you're climbing up the tower. High energy. Dustman's theme is kind of melancholy, but also still high energy as you're going through, kind of these like dust vac, trash heap areas. And then Slash Man is, also energetic, and the musicality there is decorated to definitely feel like a jungle. And so it's interesting that even when Mega Man moved to the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn, the composers still understood the agenda of Mega Man music was really written on that foundation of 4 instruments. And so even when the instrument sets expanded, it's really cool that they stuck to that core foundation. Which, full circle, Mega Man 10 invited back all the past composers. The guy that composed for Mega Man 2 was already working a lot with Mega Man 9. And I know he had some involvement with 10, but all the other composers got invited back to contribute their own Robot Master theme. And it's really cool. Like, you can hear the Mega Man 7 composer with Strike Man's theme, and the Mega Man 8 composer with Chill Man's theme. And again, it's right at home. They're writing with 4 instruments again, when they weren't writing with 4 instruments when they originally were working for the series. And so it's really cool that, again, just consistently, Mega Man has kept such a strong reputation for a reason, for great music and just great games. And obviously, there was what's known as the Mega Man Dark Ages, which, I got into Mega Man right when I got into Mega Man. That was early 2010. I remember Nintendo Power covered Mega Man 10, and so I got a lot more into the series overall. And then I ended up just buying all the games that year. Mega Man Anniversary Collection on GameCube was super helpful. And then, that's when, unfortunately, Capcom was not treating Mega Man super well. It was sad to see. Mega Man is their mascot, and again, he's on the Mount Rushmore of video games. And at least Pac-Man was still getting some attention from Namco with re-releases and Ghostly Adventures. Sonic and Mario are doing fine overall in terms of like their company supporting them. So it was a tough few years for Mega Man and Mega Man fans alone, altogether. Obviously, patience is a virtue. You kind of, during those years, I just kind of was like asking myself, like, what, I wonder why Capcom is pushing this away, or they're not doing a lot with Mega Man, because you look at so many fan composers and fan games, and they're just killing it, right? Mega Man Maker, that's a fan game, and that's insane. There's a lot of just good fan games out there. But thankfully, in the late 2010s, Capcom came around and released Mega Man 11 in 2018. And I thought that was killer, and hopefully they'll do more of that. And again, Mega Man 11 soundtrack's really good too. It's cool that they got the composer from Monster Hunter to do that. And the core foundation is still there for 4 instruments. So there's just so much more to push with Mega Man, and I've talked about how games like Shovel Knight, games like Shovel Knight, they are heavily inspired by Mega Man. And obviously just Mega Man played a big factor. I think in just action games in general, and I think gaming in general. And, the original composer, Manami Matsume for Mega Man 1, she got the job by seeing, just a job posting, they needed a musician, and she was in college for, piano playing and stuff. And it's amazing that she walked in, applied for the job, got it, and then she became one of the most famous composers of all time. She is the trailblazer, just for game music alone. I mentioned Elecman's themes, but she wrote, Bomb Man, Guts Man, Cut Man, Ice Man, Fireman, all that music in Mega Man 1, and it's really cool for what she did. And speaking of, she came back and wrote a few pieces for Shovel Knight, and even though the game got a bit infamous for its mismanagement in the Kickstarter campaign, I think Mighty No. 9 soundtrack was really good too, and she, was the composer. She came back to write Nitro Man's theme for Mega Man 10, and so it's really cool to kind of marvel and look at what Mega Man has done for game music, all together. And then also it's I've been saying this for years. So Mega Man got me to become a composer. At first I wanted to go into game design, I was told, oh, go into programming. And then in high school, C++, I did okay in it, but then I remember being on my floor and I was listening to Searchman's theme for Mega Man 8, and this was going into my junior year. This was my junior year of high school, and I just remember being wow, someone gets paid to write the music for this environment. I was that's actually kind of insane when you think about all these video games I love, Banjo-Kazooie, Yoshi's Island, and all the Mega Man games. There's a composer that's always there that's paid money to write music that's so essential to the game. I've been telling people, try to play Super Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog without the background music. And you can, but it's amazing when you take that away, how much it alters the game, and you realize how much that good video game music enhances the experience. And I definitely have Mega Man to thank for becoming a composer and then getting my degree in audio engineering. And then ironically, I still got a minor in computer science, but I'm glad I did. It's been helpful a lot for my own projects, and just just in general for my professional career, what I've been doing. And really a lot of it just anchors back to Mega Man. So it's, I wanted to really just thank him, and thank, those are the original creators behind Mega Man 1, and just for continuing the series. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I definitely plan to stream all the classic games and beat them all again, because they're some of my favorite games. I've been talking about that lately, but the anniversary collections are on Steam, so I look forward to that. I also think it's just a good way for hopefully more people to hear the music if they tune in. Again, no obligation, but it's really cool to, the last thing I'll talk about is Mega Man music is so good in the genuine effort that one of the biggest pieces I tend to use as a good trick and educational lesson. Not that these people are dismissing video game music, right? But the Mega Man Zero Resonant V soundtrack, which basically was, they took the Mega Man Zero soundtrack, a lot of songs from it, and then they said, okay, Mega Man Zero is all about, the advancement of robotics, and the morality and the philosophical things between robots and humans, those different debates and stuff like that. Let's make a soundtrack of all these Mega Man Zero songs that are electronic, but make all the instruments organic. So I will play like Holy Land from that album, and it's great hearing people say like, "Oh my gosh, what is this song?" And then I'm like, "Oh, it's from Mega Man," and it just literally throws a monkey wrench, in the machine. They're like, what Mega Man? It's like, yeah, and then you can usually tell that starts getting the gears going for them, going, "Oh man, I knew Mega Man music was good, but I should go check it out," And I'm not just talking about people that play games. Like, there are people that, didn't really spend a lot of time playing games, but if they hear that song and then you tell them it's from Mega Man, a video game series, it can honestly just be a big bridge. I think nowadays, the stigma of video games is a lot better. Like, I think it's been less stigmatized. Because really video game music, those composers, their agenda was to help the overall game product be good. But that's the cool part, is because so many composers, especially for Mega Man, cared so much about music and the final product being good, it makes the songs in isolation, they're amazing. And that Mega Man Zero Resident V soundtrack that you're hearing right now, that is a huge bridge for people to go, "Oh my gosh, this is an amazing song." And you realize these songs come from a Game Boy Advance originally. So it's cool to see people explore more and more about video game music. And Mega Man, I think, honestly just plays the biggest role in how amazing video game music has become. Not just in its success, but what it inspires. Again, those high action kind of sounds, the pushing 4 instruments only kind of limitation. A limitation that I try to put on myself. When I write music, I try to I don't try to overextend and go, "Oh, I got this, it's 2024. Now let me go write a song and have like 15 channels open." You can do that, and you could have good songs with that, but Mega Man reminds me that if I have good core fundamentals, with musicality, you can expand upon that after. So, I love Mondays.